I wanted to share with you something that is developing here for us as a church. I don't have all the answers yet, but I want to introduce it here first. This is going to go over the media in the next 30 days, probably the next month and a half. We should see it pretty well blanketed in the media, as at least the indication I have at this point. I don't know why God has chosen to keep alive the public interest in my family's loss. As you know, last February, we lost our daughter, my daughter Hannah Grace, and we, as you remember, there was a lot of media attention, a lot of interviews after. The press was in our church and such like that, and we decided at that time to open up a foundation in my daughter's name, the Hannah Grace Foundation. We didn't quite know what that was going to look like yet. We wanted to help children, because we knew that would be Hannah's heart, was to help children. And we still not really sure how that's going to look like yet in the long-term reach of the Hannah Grace Foundation. We have, in February, it's going to mark a year, and we have another lineup of, at least verbal, a lineup of the media wants to do a follow-up. People Magazine emailed us this week and want to do an article on us and stuff like that. So it's again, I've talked to many parents that have lost children in the last 12 months, and for some reason I feel somewhat bad in the sense that their children will be in the news that this precious child was lost, and then it sort of disappears out of the news, but for some reason in our case that hasn't happened. The media is still very interested in it, probably for numerous different reasons. Recently, I was in my backyard. We've been wondering how to do and how to launch this program. We're going to wait till the first of the year and launch the Hannah Grace Foundation, find a target for it. Not really knowing what to do. It's nothing I've ever done before and stuff. So I was in my backyard digging and playing with dirt. And as some of you know, I'm on the board of directors at D&D Missionary Home. Just recently been put on the board there. We just left the firehouse. The firehouse, our former church, is owned by D&D. They were our landlords. Just to give you a peek inside my own heart, I hated the firehouse. I hated it ever since February. As parts of that building I have yet to go back into, even though I probably will do it just because I don't want to run from anything. That's how I approach things. But the other side of me didn't want the firehouse just to become another building on a block that no one remembered, because I'll never forget that building, and something very sacred in my life and many of your lives took place in that property. So I didn't want to, but I didn't own it, and I didn't really have any jurisdiction over it. So whatever it was out of my control. So I tried not to think about it, but that's what was happening in my heart. So I'm out there digging, and Jerry Trask, who's become a very good friend, who's the executive director at D&D, called me and said, I think we had an offer to purchase the firehouse for $270,000, and then they upped the price to $300,000, and they upped the price to $400,000 a few days. They really wanted the firehouse. I was telling them, let's sell it, guys, but they, no, we're not going to sell it yet. Okay. And then we had an opportunity for another church or two to move in there. They didn't want to put the other churches in there, and those really wasn't my doing. I was actually voted for everybody. I'm an easy vote. And there was, Jerry called me and said, Tim, I got an idea. Why don't we put a children's home in the firehouse? And I remember sitting in my backyard thinking, that's it. That's it. We want to put it. That's what we want to do there. That's perfect. So that was right before Thanksgiving. So we hung up, and I told we'll talk after the holidays. Then I'm sitting in the backyard. I'm covered with mud. I forget it, but I'll never forget it. And it's just as strong as anything came to me and said, call it the Hannah Grace Home. And then I just teared up, and then within minutes, I got a call from Jerry Trask, and said, I don't want to upset you, and I'm okay if you don't want to do this, because we don't have to do it this way, but would you consider letting us call it the Hannah Grace Home? And so I said, well, yeah, I'd consider that, I think, and I can do that. And then I was just a blubbering idiot for a few minutes here, because I just sensed this is what the Lord had in my daughter's memory. So the holidays passed. I have a luncheon with Danny Hodges, the pastor at Calvary, becoming a very good friend of mine, really since we lost my daughter. And I show up at our normal meeting place, and he's with another pastor, staff pastor in church, Tommy. Is it Tom Teal? Is it Tom? Yeah, Tommy Teal. Good guy. And I met Tom 5 years ago at Crosspoint. And he has a foster care ministry within the state of Florida. In November of this year, this last month, Calvary Chapel's, Tom Teal's foster care ministry at Calvary became state certified in the sense that they can now train people in Christian foster care and have it totally validated by the state of Florida. So they can, and there's Christ-centered, cross-based training they put these foster care parents through. So we spent the whole time talking about this. I asked Tom, what's the biggest need that you find now in Pinellas County for these kids? And he said, well, there's about 1,500 foster care kids at any given time in Pinellas County. When they turn 18 years old, they age out. In other words, the state's done with them at that point. The state will give them, I think it's $900 a month for the next 3 years of their life, but there's no more guardianship, there's no more parenting, there's no more homes, they're on their own. They're 18, and they're on their own. They can vote, they can be on their own. $900 a month. 25% of these young men, end up homeless within 18 months. 35% of these young ladies end up pregnant within 18 months of leaving the foster care program. Hannah Grace Home is going to be converted hopefully into a housing for at least 10, maybe more, single girls coming out of the foster care, 18 years and older, coming out of the foster care program, and giving them life skills, mentoring skills, relationship counsel, and whatever they need really, and to put them into a place where they can afford their housing, live in a safe environment, and go for the next 3 years with us if they want to. They come out of the other side of the program, and if they want to continue with us then, we have the D&D missionary homes that will have houses available to put them in to help these kids get into the rest of their life. Because how many of you are really grown up at 18? I'm 54. I grew up last year, and so we're very, very excited about this as what God's doing. And so this is going to be a joint venture. D&D owns the firehouse. Our first goal for the Hannah Grace Foundation is going to help get the Hannah Grace homes open. At the first Hannah Grace home open at the firehouse. At that point, it should be self-sustaining. We think there'll be enough community donations coming in. The overhead won't be that large. There'll be some rental charge, so it won't be that hard to keep it open once we get it open. It'll be about a $300,000 renovation on the firehouse. The county has already said they would approve it. And basically, we are making 10 mini rooms, mini apartments, large hotel room type of things inside there, living quarters for dorm parents, and then this commercial kitchen, dining room, parlor areas, and stuff like that, so make it a very comfortable home. We have another property in Seminole that we'll know more next month, in the next 2 weeks, could be donated to us, 3 acres right off Lake Seminole, that could be donated as a second location. There's already 3 acres on there. It's a small building, 4,000 square foot building, and a swimming pool. But the actual 3 acres will be donated to us free and clear, and so we can potentially build more homes there if the Lord provides the funding for it. So Hannah Grace Homes hopefully will help have a major part in getting the firehouse open initially, and then working on project number 2, potentially the Seminole property, and then we'll see what project number 3 is later. They're still developing, but we're thinking we just buy homes, simple single-family homes, and help families like you be certified in foster care for those who feel this is something God would want you to do, and take on these children and invest your lives into these kids. So we're very, very excited about that and what God is going to bring out. I have an opportunity to talk about this with the media next month, I hope. So it looks like anyway, I'll have an opportunity to talk about this with People Magazine and whatever doors that opens up in this community. We're planning to introduce it through D&D and a banquet probably in late spring. We will looking at doing a yearly 5K race in my Hannah Grace home race, maybe a golf tournament or something like that. A couple of fundraisers a year, just keep it in front of the public and stuff like that. So we're pretty excited about it. Right now, the Facebook page, which is Prayers for Hannah Grace, that had over 5,000 people when she was in the hospital, still up and running. Many of you know. We're changing the name of that as of tonight to tomorrow morning. We're changing the name of that to the Hannah Grace Foundation. This video will be on there of what I'm saying right now initially. Hopefully in the next 30 days we'll have a website open, and that will link everything together for the Hannah Grace Foundation with a mission statement. We're working on that as we speak. And we're hoping that before all the potential interviews happen, I get verbals on these things, but they don't know until you actually schedule them. You don't know when they're ever going to take place. We're going to hopefully have that all in place by the time we get to about the 1-year anniversary of the tragic loss. So pray for that if you would. If you'd like to contribute, because I've been asked this already, and some have contributed already. As I've talked about this, just never in a large setting and never with a microphone. There's a Hannah Grace Foundation tag on the church website where you can just go, like you can give, and there's different ways, general giving, and there's different tabs there for you to donate. You can just hit Hannah Grace Foundation, and that will go 100% into the foundation. Right now, every penny of the money is just going to be spent on getting the firehouse inhabitable for these young ladies. It would be wonderful if we could get it up and going by 2014. 2013 would be awesome, but that's our hope is by this time next year that we're looking at a grand opening of that facility. But again, it's going to be not a cheap fix. It's not like we can do a church and just blow a bunch. We have to do a lot of stuff there to get that, from bathrooms to living, reconfigure the whole infrastructure of the property. But the story of having that redemptive ministry there with the tragedy that happened there, it will be a life blessing for me to see my daughter's name on a big sign there for the rest of my life and the rest of my kids' lives after we're gone. So thank you for being part of that. Again, you can visit that if you want and keep abreast. I'll keep you abreast about that. But you're the first group we've told about this, and I've got some WTAS wants to do a story on it. A bunch of people are going to be starting knocking on the door once because people still interested in it. So I'm going to ride the wave. They want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. I'm just telling you what we're going to talk about, though. I'm not going to let you determine that. And so we're going to ride this thing and see what God does with it. And I want to thank God for the privilege that I can actually do this. This is an honor. This really is an honor. Not every parent that has lost a child has had the ability to do something like this in their child's memory for the rest of their life. So I am blessed that God has opened up these doors. Okay, with that in mind.